13 things that I wish I knew when I first started my training journey many years ago as a skinny fat guy in my teenage years and all of my 20s. I'll show you photos of what I looked like and didn't like that look, thought it was my genetics, and was stuck in a rut for a long time until I figured out some core principles that I'm going to share with you in this video that essentially got me into the best shape of my life, where I went on to compete in amateur bodybuilding competitions, and then most recently as a 39-year-old, my first high rocks competition in the men's pro division. Welcome back to my channel, and let's jump into the 13 things that I wish I knew when I just started my fitness journey many years ago. All right, the first one being starting with a calorie deficit to shred fat and build muscle, also known as a body recomposition. So many years ago, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I started my skinny fat transformation journey by trying to bulk my way out of it, by eating a ton of calories to try and get away from the skinny arms and skinny legs that I had that I didn't like. What I should have started with was a calorie deficit first. By being in a calorie deficit as a relatively untrained individual that I was, you actually achieve both of those things simultaneously. In a calorie deficit to lose fat, you also can build a little bit of muscle as a skinny fat guy. So what I ended up doing many years later was I figured out how many calories I needed to be in a slight calorie deficit, and you can use my free calculator on my website. I'll link it up down below. If you go to that link, I'll bring it up on my laptop right now. All you have to do as a skinny fat guy or girl watching this, if you can follow along with me, is just go select the unit, so imperial, metric, male, female, current weight, height, your current age, and then for activity, just select 3 hours of training per week, right? And then skip the BMR formula, go down to goal, and then select from the drop-down menu moderate weight loss, right? 1 pound per week. And then it will tell you how many calories to consume every day to maintain a slight calorie deficit. I wish I did this from day one. I would have saved a ton of time. And in the process of doing that, I would have not just shred the fat that I had as a skinny fat guy around my waist and my love handles and my lower back, I would have also built a little bit of muscle in my skinny arms, skinny legs, and my chest, which were severely lacking in muscle. That's the first thing I would have done. The second thing I would have done was eat more protein, and a hell of a lot more protein. One of the biggest mistakes I made as a skinny fat teenager and guy in my early 20s was that I was only getting around 70 to 80 grams of protein each day, even when I was in the gym training, not knowing what the hell I was doing in the gym. I should have been getting significantly more protein. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make, and one of the biggest mistakes I made is not getting enough protein. And I work with guys every day. I've got online fitness clients. I work with them every day. And almost all of them, when they come to me, are not getting enough protein for the type of training that they are doing prior to working with me. So I spend a lot of time with these guys trying to get their protein levels up. And what I suggest is one simple rule: 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. Or you can use a simple rule of thumb, which is 1 gram of protein per centimeter of height per day. So for example, this is a very easy method, shorthand method. You don't need a calculator. You don't need to use an algorithm. You just take your height in centimeters. So I'm 185 centimeters, and that's how many grams of protein to shoot for. So as a 185 centimeter guy, I should aim for about 185 grams of protein. If you're watching this and you're 155 centimeters or 150 centimeters, you get 150 grams of protein a day. It's a really good place to start. So the next one is more cardio won't fix your soft physique. So many years ago, as a skinny fat dude, one of the biggest mistakes I made was I'd go into the gym and I'd do hours of cardio every day. And what I was doing was really just reinforcing the problem that I had, which was this skinny fat physique. When you do a ton of cardio, you essentially burn off a ton of muscle. And if you're skinny fat, you don't really have much muscle in the first place. So doing even more cardio really just reinforces the problem. So when I reduced my cardio from 2 to 3 hours of cardio a day down to 2 to 3 hours of cardio a week. And I split that cardio into 3 or 4 sessions. So maybe I'll do 30 to 40 minute sessions, several times a week. You really do need to reduce the amount of cardio you're doing, because to give your skinny fat body, a chance of building muscle and create shape, you really do need to dial that cardio back. Obviously, cardio is important and you do need to do it for obvious reasons such as cardiovascular health and so forth. Cardio should really only be used as a tool when you're trying to improve your body composition in terms of how much muscle you have, how much fat you've got on your frame. All right, the next point is following a proven weekly training split, which is what I did. Initially, I didn't have a training plan. I would just go into the gym and just do whatever exercises I felt like doing. I didn't have a structure. I didn't do any compound movements. I didn't do free weights. I didn't touch dumbbells or barbells, because these exercises involving those barbells and dumbbells were very intimidating and in my mind, very dangerous. And if you're a skinny fat guy going into the gym, you're seeing big guys walking around, and it's very intimidating. Bench pressing or deadlifting twice your body weight, it makes for a very intimidating experience in the gym as a skinny fat guy. So I used to stick to the cable machines and one corner of the gym that was relatively safe and, in my mind, not so dangerous and intimidating. So I'd go to the gym, no plan of execution, no plan of attack, and just do whatever I felt was safe and easy to execute. Typically cable machines, like the seated cable row, and those kinds of movements, lat pull downs and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing cable machines. They do have their place, but as a beginner lifter, they shouldn't be the foundation of your program. Compound movements should be the foundation of your program, at least for an absolute beginner. So what I did, which completely changed my physique, and I've written this down, was I did 3 to 4 lifting sessions per week. I also did night shift for about 10 years. So I started with doing 3 lifting sessions per week under a push-pull legs program. I actually wrote a book on this later on, which I released last year, called Push-Pull Legs. I'll link it up down below, going through the entire push-pull legs program. But essentially, I did 3 sessions per week, push-pull legs, and sometimes 4 sessions per week. I would do 3 to 5 exercises per session, most of those being compound movements. I'd do 3 to 4 sets per exercise, 8 to 12 reps per set, with around 2 minutes rest between sets. And my total gym sessions were about 90 minutes each. So I went from doing 2 to 3 hours in the gym to scaling back the amount of time in the gym to around 90 minutes, and followed a structured program, doing cardio 2 to 3 hours per week. And I found that it dramatically transformed my body, with it being paired with high protein and being in a calorie deficit. Point number 5 is progressive tension overload. So when I first started training in the gym, I was doing random exercises on cable machines, and I was really just chasing the pump, right? I was really just, trying to sweat it out, feeling the burn, trying to, really just get my heart rate up, thinking that I needed to feel the pump and I needed to get my heart rate up and I need to really burn myself into the ground to really feel like I was actually doing anything meaningful to my physique. And of course, after many years of doing this, I saw no change in my body. I realized something wasn't quite right. And so when I implemented progressive tension overload, which is the foundation of building muscle, it's essentially where you're forcing your muscles to grow. You're giving your muscles a reason to grow by slowly increasing the stimuli in which they're exposed to week after week after week. So, you want to really work at increasing the amount of weight that you're lifting by around 5 or 10 pounds for a given exercise week after week after week. When you hit the top of the rep range for any given exercise, you want to add a little bit of weight so that in the following set, you're going to then not be able to do as many reps, but you would be able to do fewer reps at more weight, but then you're going to keep pushing until you hit the top of the rep range once again at the higher weight. And then when you hit the top of the rep range again, you're going to increase the weight once more. This is called progressive tension overload. And so I'll link up some stuff to what this means in more detail down below. But it's really, really important, and it's one of the main reasons why many guys remain stuck in a rut is because they are going into the gym doing the same exercises at the same weight for the same number of reps, same number of sets, and they're not really forcing their muscles to adapt to a greater stimuli. So progressive tension overload is extremely important, and when I started to take that seriously, that was when I started to see my body transform. Okay, point number 6. So if you're not tracking your lifts, you are not training, you are just guessing. So I used to go into the gym, I used to jump on any random machine, whatever felt good on the day, and just pick any random old weight that kind of looked good and kind of felt good. And I'd never track it. I didn't know how many reps I had to do. I didn't write it down anywhere. I didn't have any apps on my phone to record anything. I would just kind of keep going until I felt enough soreness that I needed to stop, and then come into the gym the following week to do the same exercise, and just can't really remember what I did the prior week. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I was stuck in a rut, spinning my wheels, and essentially why my body just looked the same year after year after year, because I didn't have intention with my training. I didn't log or record my training in any form, when I could have just got an app like FitNotes, which is what I use now. And I've been using FitNotes now for over 10 or 11 years. It's a free app. I suggest you go and download it. You can download any kind of tracking app. There's hundreds of them out there. And just start by recording for each exercise that you do in the gym, like a bench press or overhead military press or something like that. It's just record how much weight, how many reps, and how many sets you're doing for any particular exercise. There's no need to overcomplicate this. That's all you have to do, so that when you go into the gym the following week, you can look at your history for that particular exercise and go, oh, for the dumbbell military press, I did a total of 4 sets. The first set, I did X amount of weight in terms of pounds or kilos for this many reps. For the second set, I did this amount of weight for this amount of reps, and so on and so forth. And you have a clear documented record of exactly how much weight you've lifted for a particular exercise for how many sets and how many reps, so that when you go back into the gym the following week, you can at least look at your record and go, I need to start with this amount of weight. This will ensure that you are continuing to progress and get stronger on any particular lift. So this was a game changer for me. And when I started recording my lifting, now it's been consistently over 11 years now, I saw my body dramatically change. The next point is tracking your calories and not relying on guesswork. So many years ago, I never used to track my calories, and I wondered why my body wasn't changing. I thought if I just ate clean food, by eating things like raw vegan cheesecakes, healthy salads, and raw protein balls and things of that nature, quinoa salads and things like that, that would devoid me of the necessity to track my calories to ensure that I'm in a calorie deficit. So I used to eat, for example, like oats for breakfast, and I'd have like chicken wraps for lunch, and I'd have a couple of protein shakes every now and again. And I thought, if I just eat clean like this, then my body will do the rest. But in reality, I was actually not in a calorie deficit, because you can still, put on weight even if you're eating very clean food, if you're in a calorie surplus. Okay, so this is the law of energy balance, a concept that I wish I learned many, many years ago. This is a principle rooted in human biology, and it's the reason why people can get absolutely shredded by eating McDonald's, or the Twinkie diet professor, which I'll link up down below, who lost a ton of weight by comprising most of his 1800 calories from Twinkies and Oreos and sugary cereals and so forth, and managed to lose a ton of weight by being in a calorie deficit. I obviously don't recommend eating junk food to get shredded, but it underscores the point that provided you're in a calorie deficit, no matter where those calories come from, you will lose weight. When I started tracking my calories in MyNet Diary or MyFitnessPal, and I prefer to use MyNet Diary, I put in my calorie target to create a slight calorie deficit into MyNet Diary, along with my protein target at the time, which was 185 grams based on 185 centimeters for my height. And I really focused on tracking those two numbers. And I found that my body dramatically changed. I was able to start shredding while keeping my protein extremely high. If you're skinny fat, tracking isn't obsessive. It's very educational. It's very eye-opening. It shows you what's actually going into your body so you can make informed decisions instead of emotional decisions. So this is one of the things that was really game-changing for me. When I started tracking my calories, I was able to really start seeing results. And the next point is setting realistic expectations relating to shredding versus bulking. In fact, most people quit any kind of program because their expectations don't match reality. Most people have unrealistic expectations of how quickly they are to lose fat and get shredded and or build muscle. So my job as an online fitness coach is actually to set realistic expectations for guys and some girls that I work with to ensure that they are actually making progress at the normal healthy rate, and that will ensure that they will stay on track. So if you are in the fat loss phase, right, here's what you can realistically expect. So for fat loss, you should expect to lose between 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. That equates to around 0.4 to 0.8 of a kilo per week if you weigh around 80 kilos. The timeline for this, for a shred, we're looking somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks. For serious fat loss with visible abs, you can expect to take somewhere between 12 to 16 weeks. But every person is individual, and so I can't tell you with certainty how long it's going to take you. It really depends on what your starting body fat percentage is and so forth. The main thing to focus on is trying to shred that at a rate of around half a kilo to a kilo per week. And that works out to be about 1 to 2 pounds per week is a reasonable rate of fat loss. That's also considered to be healthy and sustainable. And if you're bulking, bulking in terms of building muscle, you should expect to gain as a natural, not on steroids, which is how I did my entire transformation without any kind of steroids or performance enhancing drugs, is gaining around 0.7 to 1 kilo per month of muscle, which is, works out to be around, up to 2.5 pounds of muscle a month. And the time frame for bulking, you should give yourself maybe 3 to 4 months minimum, but ideally you want to be bulking for like 6 to 12 months. So when I work with guys bulking to build muscle, I usually say the longer your bulk is, the better the results. But yeah, my long bulk took me 11 months and I did it naturally. As I said, no steroids and things like that. But yeah, that's the realistic rate of building muscle for a bulk. Point number 9 is be patient. Your body doesn't work on your timeline. I used to check the mirror every few days, looking for changes in my body, and I get frustrated when nothing looked different. I thought maybe the plan wasn't working or my genetics were screwed up or something like that. Or maybe I needed to train a little bit more. Maybe I need to eat less or try something new. But the truth is that, your body doesn't care about your timeline. It cares about consistency and showing up. You don't have to be consistent, 100% of the time. You just need to be consistent 80% of the time, and you will get 80% of the results you're chasing. You don't have to be consistent all the time. I worked night shift for almost 10 years. I did my entire transformation during night shift. There were many days I go to the gym tired. There were many days where I wasn't very accurate with tracking my calories, to be honest with you, but I just kind of kept going with it. I picked myself up the next day and just kept moving forward, and I was just really patient. I knew that this was a journey and I needed to be patient and take my time with it, and in the process learn from my mistakes and just get better at tracking the following day. If I made a mistake, if I slipped up, I wasn't in the business of beating myself up. I was just like, what, I screwed up, what can I learn from this? And then just draw a line in the sand and move forward. Most people, and I did this to myself many years ago, was if I slipped up, I really punished myself, right? I would, the internal dialogue in my head was brutal. I would say things, you don't deserve this, you're useless, you're hopeless, it's your genetics, what are you trying to do? You should be grateful for what you've got. What do you need to build muscle for? These kinds of things. You're not capable of having a great physique. I used to really beat myself up mentally when I did slip up. But I learned that positive self-talk is extremely important. It's going to be tough. There's going to be rough days. You're not going to do this consistently every single day. You're going to have shit days. And that's the reality of this. transformation journey for you guys. But as long as you can just go, you know what, this is going to take a little time. It's not going to take me forever. I just need to be a little bit kind to myself. There's no need to rush this. The visible results always come later than you want, okay? But they will come. All right, if you just give your body a bit of time, there's no need to rush it. Just take progress photos, track your lifting in the app, fit notes to track your training sessions, stay the course. And, because once your body starts changing, then you'll start seeing those results in the mirror, and that reinforces that you are doing the right thing, and you will stay the course even more so when you can see those results changing in the mirror. Point number 10 is machines are comfortable, and that's the problem. I spent way too much time hiding in the machine section because I felt it was a safe place to go. I wasn't challenged. As I said, I thought that the free weights and barbells and all the deadlifting that the guys are doing in the gym was just too dangerous for me. And so I just wanted to stay in the safety of doing cable workouts. But those machines, although they have a place, they just don't, for an absolute beginner, you really do need to focus on the big compound movements to build that good foundation of strength and muscle. When I finally moved to free weights and focused on the big compound movements like doing the deadlift, for example, doing the bench press, inclined barbell bench press, inclined dumbbell bench press, military press for my shoulders, bent over rows, and pull-ups and chin-ups, and barbell back squats, then my body really started to transform, and started to transform fast. Providing I was also getting my protein in, I was in a calorie deficit, I had reduced my cardio back quite significantly. So these pieces are important when you put them all together. Point number 11 is ab workouts don't burn belly fat. I was one of those skinny fat guys that used to do endless crunches on the ab crunch machine. And I was doing crazy ab circuits, doing everything I could to try and build a six pack. I kind of realized that, I was doing it all wrong. I should have really focused on getting stronger on the big compound movements and being in a calorie deficit, getting enough protein. Because at the end of the day, you want a six pack, you've got to be in a calorie deficit to reduce your body fat percentage down. You have to get enough protein to build enough muscle in your abs to make them visible. You need to dial back your cardio so you stop burning off your muscle, and you need to be patient because this is not going to happen overnight. So if you do those few things, then you'll be well on your way to getting not just a six pack, but a complete body transformation. So point number 12 is supplements. So supplements don't make up for bad habits. I was one of these guys many years ago where I used to pour a lot of money into sports supplements, thinking that, it was going to shortcut my progress and really get me that six pack that I really wanted desperately as a skinny fat guy. And at the end of the day, you can spend so much money on sports supplements and kind of really get not much in return except just disappointment and an empty wallet. The reality is, and that's why I put this point toward the end of this video, because it kind of underscores its relative irrelevance for an overall body transformation. You've really got to focus on your diet and your training and patience and dialing back your cardio as kind of the 90% of the whole plan of attack. And then the other 10% is really just supplements that really just plug the holes and help you get the edge with what you're already doing correctly with your training and nutrition. So the only supplements that I would seriously recommend would be supplements like whey protein or some kind of protein powder, merely just to help you get enough protein for the day. Because obviously, if you're on 150, 200 grams of protein a day, that's a hell of a lot of protein to try and get from whole food sources. So that's why when I work with my clients online, I say, look, if you have a couple of protein shakes, that's, easily 60 or 70 grams of protein just in 2 shakes. So you can hit a good proportion of your protein requirement just by having a couple of protein shakes. You don't have to have protein powder. It's just an easy and most convenient way to help you hit your protein target. The second supplement would be creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate is a relatively cheap compound to buy. You can get it naturally from certain foods that you eat, but not merely enough to move the needle. I won't go into the science and research behind creatine monohydrate. I've written articles on it on my website before. I only take 1 scoop of it a day, 5 grams, 6-7 grams maximum a day with one of my protein shakes. I've been taking it pretty much every day for over 10 years. So I would highly recommend creatine monohydrate, and maybe black coffee. I wouldn't even bother with pre-workouts. Most of them is just expensive caffeine. If you want a cheaper alternative, I usually just recommend black coffee, which is usually what I have before I go into the gym. I don't take any pre-workouts anymore. I used to many years ago. These things get very expensive. So that's it for supplements. The last point is a bonus point. Don't expect motivation to always be there when you're on this transformation journey. It definitely wasn't for me. As many of you guys know, I mentioned this before, I used to work a lot of night shift, and I worked night shift for 9.5 years. Essentially, I did a couple of day shifts here and there, but I did a lot of night shift, disproportionate amount of night shift, working, 10, 12-hour night shift blocks. And I was very, very exhausted. I used to work 7 days on, 7 days off, sometimes 14 days on, 14 days off. Other days it'd be like 2 nights on, 1 night off, 3 nights on, 2 nights off. And that was really, really messy. But where I'm going with this was that, almost every time I went to the gym, I was extremely exhausted. From not getting proper rest, not getting quality rest. I would go to the gym and I wouldn't be motivated, and I'd be exhausted. But I still show up anyway, and I just did the best I possibly could. I would leave the gym and then I'd have a shower and then go back into work again. For some days I go to the gym and then walk straight back out again, because quite frankly, I just didn't have any energy to do anything. What I did was if I couldn't go to the gym because I was too tired, or if I went to the gym but was too tired to train at the right amount of intensity, was I'd always ensure that I'd hit my protein target for the day. Things that I was putting in my mouth, I had energy to do that. So I would just ensure that I get enough protein, that I keep my calories in a deficit, that I would really focus on the nutritional side of things, especially if I was extremely tired to train. And I wouldn't use that as a signal to just give up completely. I wasn't waiting to feel good to go to the gym. I wasn't waiting to have enough energy to go to the gym, because quite frankly, 9 times out of 10, I just didn't have the energy to train in the gym because of the nature of my job at the time. Now, I don't work night shift anymore. I run my fitness business full time, doing online fitness coaching. And when some people say, Brad, it's so easy for you, you do this full time as a job, of course you're going to be in shape. I always remind people that my entire transformation was achieved during my night shift blocks. All of my transformation, when I did my bodybuilding competitions and competed on stage, winning first place several times, I did that around my night shift job. And I was very, very exhausted when I was doing those photo shoots, and very exhausted when I was training, and I was just tired all the time. So don't rely on hype videos or pump up videos or playlists or the perfect conditions, because if you're watching this and you've got a family, you work night shift like I used to, or you have travel commitments for work or anything like that, just don't wait for the perfect time when great amount of energy, because just go and do it. Go into the gym, do your best, and then really try and control everything from the nutritional side of things, and then just be patient and the results will come. So ultimately, you want to build a routine that runs on momentum, not motivation. So, discipline is not sexy, but it's what drives results when motivation fails. If you can build the habit of showing up regardless of your mood, you'll always win long term. So if you're interested in online fitness coaching, you can always reach out to me through my website. I coach skinny fat guys to get into the best shape of their lives. If you're not interested in coaching, I have a program called Ultimate Body Transformation. And, I help skinny fat guys in that program. We've got over 23,000 people in that program. So go and check out the program on online fitness coaching. I look forward to seeing you in the future in the program or coaching. Thanks for watching.